right, a tremendous amount of disrespect shown to the anthem of the United States, and now Jimmy Lennon Jr. is set to go in there. Then playing the anthem a second time didn't help any to the crowd in attendance. Let's go to our ring announcer, Jimmy Lennon Jr., and get this fight underway. Here we go, Jimmy, take it away.
Ladies and gentlemen, damas y caballeros, bienvenidos aficionados al box a la Plaza México por la pelea principal de la noche. We welcome you, ladies and gentlemen, to the featured bout of the evening. And it's all brought to you by Prestige Boxing Promotion, el Consejo Mundial de Boxeo, Presidente José Suleiman, tercer amigo, Moda Delas, Reporte 98.5, Sky Television, en la cerveza más fina Corona. Esta pelea es sancionada por la Comisión de Boxeo de Distrito Federal, Presidente José Luis Espetia, representando el CMB, Miguel Acuña. Ahora presentando a los jueces. Introducing to you the judges at ringside. Víctor Cervantes, Herminio Cuevas y Humberto Olivares, y el referee es Lupe Garcia. Alright, fans, here we go with the welterweight special attraction main event of the evening. Bien, amigos, esta es la pelea principal de la noche, la última revancha, 10 asaltos en los pesos welter. Presentando en la esquina azul, introducing first in the blue corner, usando pantalón verde con franja blanca y de Morristown, Tennessee, en los Estados Unidos, pesando 66 kilogramos y medio. His weight 146.5 pounds. As a three-time super lightweight world champion, his record stands at 58 wins, 14 losses, 1 draw with 42 wins coming by way of knockout. Tiene un récord de 58 victorias, 14 derrotas y un empate con 42 ganadas por knockout. Aquí está el ex campeón mundial 3 veces, peso superligero, presentando Frankie, the Surgeon Randall. Y su rival, la leyenda viviente en la esquina roja. His opponent across the ring in the red corner, usando pantalón con los colores de la bandera de México, rojo, blanco y verde. Representando Culiacán, Sinaloa, México, pesando 65 kilos, 800 gramos. His weight, 145 pounds, as a legendary 6-time world champion in 3 weight categories. His record stands at 105 wins, 5 losses, 2 draws, with 88 wins coming by way of knockout, con un sobresaliente récord de 105 victorias, 5 derrotas y 2 empates. Tiene 88 ganadas por knockout. Aquí tenemos al 6 veces campeón del mundo. Damas y caballeros, por última vez demos la bienvenida al gran campeón mexicano y mundial, presentando Julio Cesar Chavez.
All right, so the ref calls him to the center of the ring, Lupe Garcia. 10-point must scoring system, no standing 8 count, no 3 knockdown rule, and fighting cannot be saved by the bell in any round.
Don't hit with the head, don't hit under the bell, don't hit behind the head, and don't hit behind of the kidney. We are going to work with 4 words: stop, break, box, and time. Ya saben las reglas, Julio. Recuerda que los 2 minutos menos te llegan la descalificación.
All right, folks, so finally, what this night is all about is ready to begin. Julio Cesar Chavez, you get to see him in his final competitive fight. 105, 5 losses, 2 draws, 88 wins by knockout, 6-time world champion, taking on Frankie Randall, 3-time world champion. This is fight number 3, the battle for the bragging rights between Chavez and Randall. Frankie won the first fight. Chavez got the second fight. And this is the 3rd fight in their career. Here they go. Julio Cesar Chavez in his prime was just terrific with pinpoint control and his punches behind the elbow of opponents. Frankie Randall in his prime was just an extraordinary fighter with great ability to land punches right on the button. Both guys trying to get the jabs in the face of their respective opponents. Randall decked out in the green trunks facing it, then Chavez with his back to you, and you hear the crowd in attendance here chanting, Chavez, Chavez. Julio Cesar Chavez wearing the colors of the flag of the country of Mexico. It's really silver sparkly trunks with red and green. It's supposed to be white, red, and green, but we'll give him a little grace here since it's his night. This is Chavez's salute to Mexico and his great fans, and the Mexican fans salute to Chavez by showing out in mass here in round number 1 of this scheduled 10-round affair in the welterweight division. Both guys came in under the 147 limit, so they both train hard for this fight. Chavez in at 145, Randall in at 146.5. This is round number 1 as Frankie touches him up with light left jabs. In the prime of his career, those left jabs would have been stinging jabs, followed up by the right hand. I asked Frankie earlier today, I said, do you feel anything that age is taken away from you? And of course, like most athletes, he said no. He said, you know, there's a lot of baseball pitchers in the United States that can still pitch at 40 years old. The difference is they're not getting hit in the head by the guy that they're going against. But Frankie has got himself in tremendous shape at 145 to be ready for this fight. No serious blows landed by either man here in round number 1. Randall hasn't been able to get to Chavez at all, really. A couple of light left jabs, and he lets the right hand fly. And it's noticeable that the skills that were once there are not there by Frankie, but Chavez does a pretty good job showing the flashes of what made him great, those 3 blasts underneath the right elbow of Frankie, so Frankie decides to pick up the pace. Frankie's legs look a little wobbly already. He's been hit to the body a couple of times, and his legs really don't look like they're underneath him that well. He tries to throw some punches, and his punches look a little bit awkward, does Frankie. 2 really good kids, 2 tremendous athletes in their primes. But this is a great opportunity. And tonight really wasn't about the prize fight as Chavez goes head hunting with the right hand, which cracks the left side of the jaw of Frankie Randall. Frankie had a tremendous record going. Most of his losses have been in the last 4 or 5 years, but he's got 58 wins in his career. Just a tremendous career by Frankie Randall over the years. Only 14 losses, but most of his losses, as I mentioned, have come in recent years. Closing seconds now, this is the first round, and Chavez has outboxed him here in round number 1. Body shots getting through by Chavez, and Frankie takes a deep breath. The bell ends round number 1, and so we saw some of the flashes of what Chavez was once able to do with his body shots. As we take a look at Julio Cesar Chavez, he would have won that first round on the judges' scorecards. Victor Cervantes, Hermino Cuevas, and Humberto Oliveras are the judges here. As we take a look at the replay, you see what I mean? Now those are shots that Chavez in his career would have really punished guys behind the elbow. Frankie in their first fight, of course, was the first man to drop Julio Cesar Chavez. That was back in 1994 for the Junior Welterweight Championship of the World, 140-pound division. And here's Frankie trying to get something going, but notice that he misses. And Chavez still able to get his shots through there. Frankie took on the nickname the Surgeon because he had pinpoint control with his hands in his prime. And he didn't quite look like the Surgeon here in the first round. But this is more than a prize fight. This is about the celebration of the career of Julio Cesar Chavez. And Chavez elected to bring Frankie Randall back to settle it once and for all. Even though they're both over 40 years of age, we're in round number 2. I'm Bob Sheridan. You're watching pay-per-view around the world, especially in our Latino community. Glad that you could be with us. Had a great opportunity to see a terrific fight with Cardona and Miguel Angel Gonzalez. And in this one, we get to see the flashes of the great former 9 world champions between 9 world titles, I should say, between these 2 great champions. Chavez with the back to the ropes. Frankie paws with the left hand, doesn't really land anything. And again, Frankie looks very awkward with his punches. This is round number 2. It's scheduled for 10 rounds. They both come in underneath the 147-pound welterweight division limit. Frankie shuffles off to the left. You see, he just can't seem to get his shots off. And then he paused with his left hand. He misses all his shots. There's about 5 left hands that Frankie fell short of, and finally he did land one up high in the forehead of Julio Cesar Chavez. Round 2 action. That's the surgeon, Frankie Randall. Wild with the right hand is Chavez, and he misses the left as well. Body shot that time by Frankie, and Frankie looks at Lupe Garcia, the referee, and says to Julio, keep him up. In his prime, Julio Cesar Chavez had a lot of borderline low blows, and he got away with it in a good part of his career because they were right kind of on with the shots just like that, as a matter of fact. Just right on the white area of Frankie Randall's green trunks is where Chavez made a living in the prime of his career, and he's trying to soften Frankie Randall up in the second round of this fight. In the twilight, not the twilight, the end of his career. This is his last professional fight, probably the last pro fight for either of these guys. As Frankie tries to answer back with some body shots of his own, but Chavez is landing far more blows than is Frankie Randall. Remember, there's altitude of 5,000 feet here, so it might be tough for Frankie to really keep his strength up for very long in this fight. He's trying to battle back under a minute to go here in the second round. As Chavez continues to bang the body, Frankie comes with a light uppercut. Chavez shifts around, tries to get in position to land his, and his Frankie battling off the ropes. Chavez loads up the right hand. You know, I did the fight a few years ago when Hector Camacho Jr. and Roberto Duran did their swan song, and this is a better fight. It's not them in their prime, but they're still working hard. A lot of pride between these two men. Chavez, of course, wants to go out so bad because it's in front of his hometown crowd here in Mexico City. Frankie tries to score, but he's getting punished with shots by Julio Cesar Chavez. Both men have trained extremely hard for this fight. Closing seconds now. This is the second round. As Chavez punishes the midsection of Frankie Randall as Frankie's forced to back off. Bell ends round number 2. That's another Chavez round. So Julio Cesar Chavez has won the first 2 rounds of the scheduled 10-round affair. You take a look at Julio Cesar Chavez. I want to thank our stage manager, Angelista Estavia, who's done such a great job ringside here in a mad place to watch a fight. Great job here at ringside. As you take a look at the replay here in round number 2. Chavez trying to land those body shots and Frankie trying to avoid them, moving his head around. You see Frankie missing so many more shots than you would have seen back in his prime. And I'm amazed that Chavez is as successful as he is in landing his shots. Julio Cesar Chavez, 105 victories, 5 losses, 2 draws. In his last big fight, he lost to Costa Zoo in a 6-round TKO. In his prime, certainly one of the greatest boxers in the history of boxing. And I talked about his great body shots. I remember leading up to the Purnell-Whitaker fight, talking with guys like Ted Schuyler, the Associated Press, about this guy being one of the great fighters, pound for pound, of all time. And then, of course, as his career began to go downhill as he reached his mid-30s. I mean, he had so many fights. And Frankie Randall trying to make a go of it here in the 3rd round. Chavez continues to try to bang the body. Frankie keeps throwing punches, and he tries to get Chavez upstairs. Chavez tucks the chin and keeps going to work at that body of Frankie Randall. Bang him! Now he tries to come back upstairs. Frankie throws his shots. Don't quit neither one of these guys, and we're in the 3rd round right now. And both men, Chavez is 41, Frankie 42. And again, for Frankie, fighting at this altitude has got to be very tough at 42 years old. It's a mile high here, over 5,000 feet in Mexico City, and the air is thin. It's a fairly cool evening and a nice night to fight. Both guys up in their toes, nobody hurt, nobody visibly shaken at this point in the fight. We're in round 3. Chavez to the right of your screen tries to work his magic to the body of Frankie Randall. Randall forces his back to the rope, and the chance begins. Chavez. There's those borderline low blows again by Chavez that he made a career out of. In his prime, he was pinpoint behind the elbow of opponents, and then coming right back after a couple of left hooks to the body, he threw a wild right hand and often catches opponents and knocked out 88 of his opponents during his career. He's actually had more knockouts than Frankie Randall has had professional fights. But Chavez, a throwback to the days of the early part of last century when guys had over 100 fights routinely. You see that happen too often today, the way guys posture for positioning. Frankie just tried to take a big, deep breath and then throw a couple of punches. He's cut Chavez with a couple of nice left hooks. And now Chavez makes him miss a bit. He sits back in the ropes and try to get some oxygen in those lungs of his as well. Both jaws have both been hanging down now as the fatigue factor begins to take its toll. It's been a pretty good pace for guys in excess of 40 years of age. And you see Lupe Garcia, the referee, say, hey, Julio, don't use your forearms to push him back. Round number 3 action continues as Frankie tries to load up shots and Julio goes back to the body. Both guys trying to land body shots and Julio got a nice cracking shot in to the left side of the jaw of Frankie Randall, forcing Frankie to hang on. Frankie looks real fatigued right now. He keeps throwing punches and they're just on automatic right now. The closing seconds of this, the 3rd round from the Bull Ring in Mexico City. Randall in the green trunks and Chavez in the white trunks as round 3 ends. That's another Chavez round. Chavez, while Randall worked extremely hard in the 3rd round, is landing more clean blows, and that's the difference. I have Chavez winning all 3 of the first 3 rounds. As I look across the way and as you look into Frankie Randall's corner, you can see that they were working on him as we take a look at the replay now. And you see how fast the pace is and how hard these guys are working. Sean Gibbons and Don Hale, Dr. Don Hale, trying to work as best they can to revive Frankie. Frankie looks very, very tired with his legs outstretched as you continue to watch the replay of how hard they work in the 3rd round. We're coming up to the 4th round of a scheduled 10-round affair here in Mexico City. Back to our live shot now. I'm Bob Sheridan. You're watching our pay-per-view salute to Julio Cesar Chavez. And many of the Latin markets around the United States and around the world, I know you've enjoyed our night already because we had an opportunity to see a sensational fight between Miguel Angel Gonzalez and Ernesto Carmona in just a great war in which, of course, the former lightweight champ Miguel Angel Gonzalez came out with a unanimous decision victory. And this fight has been a lot better than a lot of people predicted. The action hasn't slowed down while they both seem a bit fatigued and they don't have the great skills that they had 6 or 7 years ago. They don't look too bad out there as far as I'm concerned. Especially Chavez has been able to land some nice body shots. Frankie has shown that he came in condition to fight at least into the 4th round because he's throwing a lot of punches, though they look a lot more awkward than they did many years ago when he was in the prime of his career. But what do you expect? I mean, you get 40-year-old guys that certainly had tremendous careers, and I'm finding it very entertaining to watch these 2 guys. See who can come out on top. They both want it so bad. Of course, Chavez and his kind of his swan song takes a looping right hand off the hands of Frankie Randall. Chavez trying to get to the body of Frankie. Both guys working extremely hard, and the pace hasn't slowed down. I mean, they just haven't stopped throwing punches through the first 3 rounds and now into the 4th round of this fight.
Your time, Frankie, your time, man.
Randall misses a couple of hooks and then blocked on the gloves, and here's Chavez back to the body of Randall. And he catches him with the right hand. Back upstairs with a couple of nice left hooks and really good shots inside by Chavez, but Frankie doesn't stop throwing punches. Randall in the green trunks facing you, takes that body shot, tries to come with an uppercut of his own, but he doesn't quite catch Julio Cesar Chavez. Lupe Garcia does his job as the hook thrown by Julio Cesar, and now Frankie pushes him up against the ropes. Nice straight right hand gets through that time by Chavez in the right hand lead. Frankie answers with a left hook of his own. Chavez tries to set him up with that elbow, and Frankie works downstairs and then back upstairs to the head of Julio Cesar Chavez. There's no quitting either one of these guys, and Frankie let fly with a shot just as the referee Lupe Garcia was coming in to separate the 2. Again, Chavez, who made a career out of these body shots, tries to throw the double left hook and the right hand upstairs, or he'll throw the right hand to the behind the elbow and then come right back upstairs of the right hand, but he doesn't quite have the power that he once possessed to flatten a guy like he could a few years ago. But Chavez avenged another loss that he had, and that was to Willie Wise in the fight last November in Tijuana. He was able to avenge that by stopping Wise, who was cut over his eye when they stopped that fight. He fought Terry Thomas a couple of years before that in a previous fight and won in a second round TKO. And you see them exchanging shots here as Frankie hangs in there, throwing some pretty good shots of his own. And the bell ends the 4th round. That was a better round for Frankie Randall. I thought Frankie might have won that round. So I got Chavez winning the first 3 and Randall winning the 4th round. We're getting ready to go to the 5th round of a scheduled 10-round fight here. Trying to make an equipment adjustment on the far side as we take a look at the replay here. Chavez lands the right hand. Frankie throwing a lot of leather in the 4th round. Hangs on. Chavez lands a good shot to the body. But you notice one thing, the pace of this. I mean, this is a slow motion. This is a replay. The pace is pretty darn good. Coming up to round number 5 at the Bull Ring in Mexico City.
Second out.
Tremendous crowd turned out to see the final effort of Julio Cesar Chavez. And Chavez thanks his many fans here in Mexico by giving him one last fight. And here we go with round 5. Again, this is scheduled for 10. Thought Chavez won the first 3, and I thought Randall might have, well, just nosed out Chavez in the 4th round. Now here's Frankie going to work with a jab in the face. Tries to throw the right hand, but doesn't get it off. And I've noticed that a couple of times by Frankie tonight, where Chavez seems to be getting off a little bit better than Frankie. Frankie might have a second win right now, and as I say that, he gets clipped with a pretty good left hand. Chavez hangs on, and Frankie has to use a lot of energy to sort of lift him up. Randall comes forward. He still knows how to throw the jabs. He drives off the back foot, and he throws some body shots, and Chavez comes out of the corner. Looping right hand now by Chavez. Chavez not doing much in the latter portions of the 4th round. Hasn't done much here in the opening part of the 5th round. Frankie bores in on Chavez. But again, you notice the pace of the fight is pretty darn good. A couple of 40-year-old guys doing battle. Here's Chavez with 3 nice left hooks, all of them landing. Not really heavy shots, but they are landing. And they will take a toll on the body of Frankie Randall at this, especially at this altitude. Frankie has to hang on a little bit. Now they both look a little bit sloppy as Chavez realized that Frankie might be a little bit on the fatigue side. And Lupe calls timeout as Frankie was hit by a low blow. Frankie Randall will get up to 5 minutes if he wants it with the low blow, but I doubt he'll take that much time. Both guys seem to be huffing and puffing, and both guys have been victimized, and both guys have landed the low blows. I don't know what that kind of wave that Chavez just gave to Frankie was. I guess he said, okay, let's go. Let's try to keep it clean. That little extra respite would have helped Frankie a lot more than Julio Cesar Chavez. You see Frankie as a revived a little bit, maybe has a little bit of adrenaline flow here. While his punches are awkward, he seems to want to get the business here. And here's Frankie Randall trying to pick up the pace here in the 5th round. Chavez able to hold him off and start to come forward. Then he pushes off with that elbow. He's been warned about that on one occasion by referee Lupe Garcia, who's an excellent referee, by the way. Seen his work many times. Chavez with the straight left hand and then the right hand to the body of Frankie. Under a minute to go in the 5th round. Frankie just cracked with the left hook, and they exchange low blows again. Frankie catches Julio Cesar upstairs, and Chavez cracks him with a pretty good right hand as well. Taking body shot that time by Chavez behind the elbow, and those are the shots that made his career. Only they were really punishing shots when he was in his prime. Straight looping right hand, and the left hook. Frankie might be in a bit of trouble, and as I say that, he's flat-footed, but here he battles back. There's a lot of pride between these two men. They want to prove to each other who the tougher man is. And Frankie seems a little bit dazed right now as his legs are very heavy. Chavez moves in, bangs the body downstairs of Frankie Randall. Randall comes back with a couple of lefts and rights of his own. Look at Frankie, he doesn't stop throwing punches, does he? as the body shots in the closing seconds of the 5th round. Chavez landing the heavier blows. Frankie throwing a lot of punches, but nothing seems to be landing right now. Here comes the bell to end the 5th round. Light tap just at the bell in the 5th round. And that's a Chavez round again. We take a look at the corner of Frankie Randall, and they continue to make that equipment adjustment. And you take a look at some of this action. Both guys landing the occasional shot. I thought that Chavez got perhaps the better, and there's that low blow. That Chavez got the better of the deal because he does land those low blows occasionally. And you see him landing the uppercut. Now look at all the punches that Frankie throws and nothing really lands. I mean, his work ethic is terrific, but not a lot of stuff landing. Then there's a little tap just at the bell at the end of the 5th round.
Second out.
It's after midnight here at the Bull Ring in Mexico City. As we go to the 6th round, Julio Cesar Chavez to the right of your screen, Frankie Randall in green to the left of your screen. All right, here we go. Round number 6. Big right hand crash to the left eye socket of Frankie Randall that time, thrown by Chavez. Frankie seems to be all right in the legs. Up on his toes, coming forward as Chavez backs off, dances around to his right. The noticeable thing with the age difference that I see with Frankie is, you know, his nickname was the Surgeon, and his pinpoint control that he had of his hands 4 or 5 years ago just isn't there tonight. On a couple of occasions when he's wanted to throw, he hasn't just been able to get the shot off. And at other times he's looked awkward with some of his punches. And of course, that's what age robs a guy of. And a guy working as hard as well-conditioned as Frankie is, he doesn't realize that. Now Lupe says, come on, keep it clean, stop grabbing and grappling. Let's keep the fight going well. We're in the 6th round. Right in the center of the ring, in his green trunks is Frankie Randall with his hands high, dances towards Chavez. Chavez at times has been able to land those shots behind the elbow of Frankie Randall. Frankie Randall really hasn't landed any surgeon-like punches throughout the course of the fight. Every once in a while he'll throw a looping shot which will catch Chavez, but it doesn't seem to do much damage. Chavez with 2 good body shots again, and he's done that throughout the course of the fight. And you wonder how much more time Frankie can take the punishment. Just when you think that it might be catching up with him, he explodes again. Chavez tries to work downstairs in the 6th round here. Frankie walks him down, gets him with his back up against the ropes. Circling around is Chavez, and Frankie throws some shot, and Julio knows how to tie him up. They're shadows of their former selves, but there's no quit in either one of them. A lot of pride. Right hand gets through, but it doesn't hurt Chavez that time. It catches him, and that's a punch that would have, in his prime, flattened a lot of guys. Under a minute to go now in the 6th round. This is scheduled for 10. Neither fighter has been down, neither fighter visibly shaken. Nobody cut. Been several borderline low blows thrown by Chavez. Crisp right hand inside by Frankie, but again, the right hand power shot of Frankie doesn't seem to be hurting Chavez whatsoever. And those are punches that would have been punishing a short time ago. That was a double left hand followed up by the right hand of Chavez. That dropped many guys, and Frankie now is beginning to show some serious signs of fatigue. As I say that, he gets his hands back up and kind of plods forward. Closing seconds now of the 6th round of this fight. Frankie's legs seem very, very heavy as the bell ends the 6th round, and Chavez lets go at the bell. That's another Chavez round. On my scorecard, I've got it 59-55 in favor of Julio Cesar Chavez. Chavez has just landed more blows. No quitting Frankie Randall as we come up to the 7th round. Take a look at the work ethic of both of these men here in 6th round action. And take a look at the face of Frankie Randall. He really looks like he's very, very fatigued. As you see him leaning up against the ropes, his legs outstretched. And Whether we get another round or so out of him is the big question. Again, the pace for these two guys at their age has been very, very good. They haven't been boring us whatsoever. They're working hard. There's a noticeable lack of power off the hands of Frankie Randall. And for that matter, there's a lack of power for Julio Cesar Chavez. But it's going to be a fatigue factor probably that will end this fight. Frankie just got clipped by a short, crisp left hook across the eyes. Is Chavez. You get the idea that Chavez is in second gear now, that he may want to finish this thing off. Frankie's legs look very heavy in the thighs and in the knees right now, although he tries to bounce up on his toes to get some circulation through those legs, which seem very, very heavy at age 42 at a mile altitude here in Mexico City. Chavez is trained in the mountains and he's used to the altitude. He's fought many, many times here in Mexico City, so he knows what it's all about. This is the 7th round. It's scheduled for 10. Frankie the Surgeon Randall decked out in the green trunks to the right of your screen. Now with his back to you, Chavez facing you now to the right of your screen. Chavez gets the jab off, then the body blow underneath the elbow of Frankie Randall. Pace is slowed down a little bit here, and as I say that, they both open up their punches. The crowd is starting to chant Chavez, Chavez as the right hand flies and catches Frankie. But the noticeable lack of power has Randall still on his feet. Chavez with the good body shots from time to time here. You can see the sparks that were once there in the great champion that he was, as he still has the ability to land those shots behind the elbow. Frankie continues to plod forward, and as the rounds continue to go by, his legs look heavier and heavier. Frankie now has to hang on. He doesn't have as much bounce in those legs as he had a couple of rounds ago. A lot of that has to do with the body shots, and a lot has to do with the high altitude here in Mexico City. Nice uppercut, left hook by Chavez. Is Frankie trying to throw some more shots? But notice how many shots that Frankie misses. And the guy, again, I use the term the surgeon, he didn't miss shots like that when he was in his prime. Both guys trying to put on a good show for the crowd in attendance here. And Chavez loading up shots to the body, and he gets the crowd's attention, I should say, very rapidly. Anything that Chavez does, there's a nice left hand to get through by Chavez. Body shots. You notice the pace for these guys in the 7th round. 41 is Chavez and 42 is Randall, and both of them outside the ring have done their fair share of partying, so they had to get back and train very, very hard for this fight. And obviously the fact that they're in the 7th round and the pace of the fight through 7 rounds has been nothing short of very, very good. We're in the closing seconds now of the 7th round of this fight. Many people had expected this to go for 3 or 4 rounds. The bell ends the 7th, and both guys throwing at the bell. So as I look at my scorecard, I've got a Chavez 69, Randall 64 as we come up to the 8th round of this fight. Take a look at the replay and see how hard they're working for you. Frankie lands some shots inside. Julio Cesar Chavez blasting away with the left hand, catches Frankie by the right eye. Finally, Frankie has to hang on. Coming up to the 8th round of this scheduled 10-round affair here at the Plaza de Toros in Mexico City, and the farewell fight for the career of Julio Cesar Chavez. Wonderful crowd turned out to bid him adieu. And here we go, round number 8. Again, Randall in green, Chavez in the white trunks. So I take a look at my scorecard. I've got it again, 69-64 in favor of Chavez. Chavez, to me, has landed more clean blows in more rounds than has Frankie Randall. I gave Randall the 4th round and Chavez pretty much everything else. Frankie gets the left hand through, and I look at concern in the face at time of Julio Cesar Chavez. Let's fly with the left hand. So Chavez drops his hands for the first time in the fight and backs off a bit. Frankie comes forward, let's fly with the right hand, but it just grazes Chavez. A straight right hand catches Chavez by Frankie Randall that time. Chavez with his back to the ropes, and he doesn't fight well with his back to the ropes. Trying to get Frankie to come in, and then he'll come with an uppercut or a couple of light left hooks, and then try to land the big right hand. Now Chavez says to Frankie, come on in here, come to me. Frankie stands up and tries to make Chavez come to him. Chavez comes forward. The right hand sails over the head of Frankie Randall. Randall comes forward and he cracks Chavez with a pretty good right hand. But again, that's the one thing that I notice at this age, that never mind the fact that he doesn't have that pinpoint surgeon-like control that he had of his hands, and that he doesn't get off as quick, but he doesn't have the power that he had, of course, early in his career when he was a younger man. And I'll tell you this, what they lack in the age 40 bracket, they certainly don't lack in desire, because there's been a pretty darn good pace to this fight. Frankie Randall held 3 world titles. Cesar Chavez held 6 world titles in 3 different weight classifications. And while make no mistake about it, you watch in the shadow of their former selves in the case of both fighters, it's pretty entertaining in that they're working so hard at this age to try and make a statement against the other. Each man is trying to make a statement against his opponent. Frankie thought he was robbed in the second fight. The WBC rule that indicates that you lose a point if you are not cut. The accidental headbutt actually cost him the second fight. Ahead in most of the scorecards, and Chavez ended up with it by the virtue of losing the point that Frankie Randall lost in the scorecard. Chavez got the decision. This is round 8. This is today. This is Chavez Randall 3. Pace continues pretty good. In the 8th round here as Chavez and Randall work extremely hard. Third man in the ring, Lupe Garcia's working pretty hard as well. These two guys continue to keep the hands free and let the hands fly now as we come up to the closing seconds of the 8th round. Both guys throwing a lot of punches. Frankie looks like he's hurt and may be ready to go. Right at the bell, his legs were gone and looked like he was ready to go. At the end of the 8th round, Chavez took that round. Don Hale complaining to the referee at the end of the round, and you take a look at the action here, this is a real low blow. So that's how Frankie was hurt again. Chavez got away with this throughout his career, and Chavez is slick in that he throws low blows to the offside of the referee. And at age 41, he still knows how to do that. And that really hurt Frankie Randall with that low blow. We're coming up to the 9th round, and Frankie kind of glued to that stool right now. Chavez looks mighty fatigued, but not as bad as Frankie. But Frankie took a real tough low blow. And now he gets back up and seems to be all right as he tries to kick some blood circulation into those legs again. This is round number 9. This is scheduled for 10 rounds. And it has all the look that it's going to go the distance. Randall up on his toes, laces out with that left hand in the face of Chavez. He's a little bit annoyed that Chavez has hit him with so many low blows during the course of the fight. Some of them are accidental, but it doesn't make any difference whether they're accidental or not. It's an illegal blow, and he's got away with it a lot and borderline body shots in his career. There's another one that was ticketed south of the border. But that one, Frankie Randall was able to pick off. We're in the 9th round. Randall to the left of your screen is green. Chavez continues to work, trying to work the body as Chavez. And that time, both guys exchanged shots, and Randall backed him off with a left hand and then a straight right hand. And again, those power shots a couple of years ago might have dropped Chavez, but it didn't work here tonight. Chavez, I must say, has got himself in extraordinary condition for age 41. To put on a final show for his fans here in Mexico City is that body shot again. And those body shots, by this stage and most of his fights in his prime, would have finished fights. Their first fight went the distance, and Frankie got the split decision. This last fight in their career, I would say Chavez is comfortably out in front. He's landing many more blows than his Frankie. Frankie's making a fight fight out of it. He tries to land a good shot there with the right hand and to catch Chavez, but doesn't seem to hurt him. And again, those power shots, right hands that Randall has landed in this fight on about 4 or 5 occasions would have dropped fighters earlier in his career. Now Chavez loads up the shot. To the body, Frankie comes off the ropes throwing shots. And by golly, I tell you, the pace of the fight has been pretty darn good with a minute to go here in the 9th round. And there Chavez tries to work the body of Frankie. Frankie wants no part of it as he throws punches of his own. Now Chavez forces him into the corner. Both guys still throwing punches and trying to throw them as hard as they can. Now Garcia has to separate the two. Frankie seems to get some sort of second wind again. He's hanging on a little bit here. As we come up to the last few seconds here in the 9th round, Chavez is trying to put the pressure on Randall and trying to end this thing. Randall falls back off the ropes and unleashes a pretty good right hand of his own. Inside of 10 seconds to go in the 9th round of this fight. So Julio Cesar Chavez winning most of the rounds. Clean blows, and the bell ends the 9th round. This one will go to the 10th round, and that's an extraordinary effort by both guys.
Let's go!
I've got an 87-82 in my scorecard, and if the judges have the same way, Randall would need a knockout to win. As you take a look at some of the action here in the 9th round, you see another borderline low blow. Not too many people would have thought this would have gone into the 10th round at the age of these two fighters. All right, we're getting ready for the 10th and final round. All right, here we go. This is the 10th and final round of this fight that most people never dreamed would go this far. Two aging former champions, 9 world titles between the two of them. Julio Cesar Chavez, I have him comfortably out in front of my scorecard. Frankie Randall in the green trunks will have to knock him out, I think, to win this fight. That's exactly what he's trying to do. Look at this. Randall unleashing shots. But Chavez says, no, you're not going to put me down in front of my home crowd. As the battle continues. Body shots. Back upstairs is Chavez. Randall comes forward. He let his barrage go in the first 10 seconds of this round. And you see his punches look a little bit awkward, but he's still throwing. And again, I have to say, for the age of these guys, the pace in the 10th round is pretty darn good. But, hey, you don't get 9 world championships, 6 for Chavez, 3 for Randall, without being the possessor of a tremendous heart, along with terrific ability. And look at this, both of them trying to put on a final show with extraordinarily talent that they had in the primes of their career. They're trying to go as best they can right to the very end of this fight. Neither guy wants to quit. Neither guy wants to get out. Neither guy wants this fight to end his career with a loss. Julio Cesar Chavez has landed 4 clean blows throughout the course of the fight, but Frankie Randall has nothing short of heart and courage throughout the course of this fight. Look at this. Look at the way these guys are working in this fight. And that's a credit to the great champions that they once were. Nobody wants to quit. There's no quit, neither one of them. Both guys got to be out on their feet, especially with Randall fighting at a mile high here. And the pace of the fight has been like this throughout. Pretty furious right now as Chavez tries to end it with a knockout, or at least putting Randall down. Remember, in their careers, Randall never went down and Chavez did go down. Chavez would like to repay him right now with that, but instead Frankie battles off the ropes. Look at this. How about this? No quit, neither one of these fighters. While we have noticed a lack of power that they once possessed, there's no lack in heart of either one of these guys. bang does Chavez as he comes forward. Randall sort of hangs on and lets fly with a left hook of his own, and now he has to hang on. I want to get that energy sucked up the same as Frankie Randall did that time, but Frankie doesn't stop throwing punches, and Chavez in the last closing seconds of the fight pours in on him. Both guys are flailing punches until the final now. Chavez is throwing more punches, but there's no quit. Toe-to-toe in the 7th ring. What a battle! At 41 and 42 years of age, respectively, Julio Cesar Chavez had a great performance for his age against the former world champion Frankie Randall. Well, Chavez Randall 3 was not disappointing. It was an excellent prize fight to watch. We're going to have to get out of here in a hurry once the decision is rendered. We want to thank our studio coordinators in Hollywood, Mike Randolph, and producer in Hollywood, David Getz, and our Mexican coordinating producer, Ben Estevillo, for his great job. Our technical manager, and a tough job it was, Big John Finker's great job. Our associate producer has been Jason Vidal. And we'll get the decision here rapidly for you, and then we'll see so long. So you had the opportunity to see a pretty remarkable fight with these two great champions.
Felicidades, Julio. Déjalo que respire, déjalo que respire.
Frankie Randall put on an extraordinary effort. Of course, our executive producer, Don King, magazine offices in Deerfield Beach, coordinates all the international television stations. We thank one and all for the great job. Dana Jameson on the scene here in Mexico City. It's not an easy task putting an event like this out around the world in a world telecast, coordinating with several other television networks that are involved here, and to a great deal have great control. So we want to thank everybody that's been involved. And we'll have the decision momentarily for you. This is Julio Cesar Chavez now standing up on the ropes, waving to his crowd. Jimmy Lennon Jr., as soon as he gets the scores, we'll have it for you, and we'll make this official. All right, here's Jimmy Lennon Jr. with the decision. Jimmy, take it away. I don't know if Jimmy can see me to take it away.
Very fine. Yeah, it was tough.
Jimmy can't see me. We're trying to get to him to get this decision for you. All right, here's Jimmy Lennon.
Damas y caballeros, tras de 10 rounds tenemos una decisión unánime. We have a unanimous decision. Los jueces tienen la pelea a favor del ganador, el gran campeón mexicano Julio Cesar Chavez.
So Chavez gets the unanimous decision victory. We want to thank our director and our executive producer, Frank Belmont, for a terrific job. For our staff here at King Vision and Belmonte Productions, I'm the Colonel Bob Sheridan saying thanks for joining us and so long from Mexico City. Good night, everybody.
El juez Víctor Cervantes dio la pelea 99 a 91. Emilio y Humberto tienen la pelea 98 a 92.